Hello everybody, this is the monthly futures market trend scan for the month of September. Let's have a look through the individual symbols here with a focus on the higher time frames. So what we see is that, well, basically the US equities are about, and equities in general, I mean global equities, are either about to break to new highs or are already at new highs. Now the Dow Jones has not done so yet. We can see here that, I mean, the chart here on the monthly chart is clustered with patterns. These are S1 patterns, and we can see basically that every touch back to the 21 is a pattern and an entry signal. Now, this is a very strong trend. That's an EMA trend, and it's basically a trend that accelerates to the upside. So that's a slightly curvy. We can see that better with Nasdaq. Both Nasdaq and ES, they have already broken to a new high, and we can see how this is an exponential chart, right? This goes exponential, and that's why we call it a vertical market. The US equities, but in general global equities. Now let's move on to the metals. Gold has made new highs as well. Looks very strong. I mean, this is a technical event, right? That's a stop run move, taking out these last highs, and the all-time high back from September 2000. I think September it was, back from September 2011. Now that's a technical move, right? A stop run move. Well, then it consolidated, and typically what happens after stop run move, well, we get a pullback back to the 21, even back to the 21 down here. Well, that did not happen. The consolidation basically broke to a new high, new all-time high. So something is going on, and this is continuing. I don't know what, right? But the patterns tell the story. And what we have here, I talked about it during the recent webinar, this is an S1 pattern that triggered here, and it's now running its course. The momentum move is not that big, right? So the target for this one is slightly higher, but this looks, I mean, well, actually, this is the outer target. Yeah. So the outer target is much higher. It's well beyond the 4,000 per ounce of gold. So it looks like this continues. Well, it's way overextended. We can end this move at any time, either having a strong pullback or a longer sideways consolidation. So gold has still potentially here, and we trade a symbol till the trend ends. Now silver looks much better because it has catching up potential. We are nowhere like above the all-time high back in 2011, but we have just entered target area. We have mapped that out back here, the target area, and we're moving there. So what we're seeing here on the quarterly chart, well, that's a stop run move. We see a big quarterly bar because we have broken this high or this high here, as we've marked it already. That's a stop run move. Well, now we're actually challenging these highs. These are stop run levels, stop run level, stop run level, and that's the high of this consolidation. So very interesting here. Silver. Well, silver has some correlation with gold, so it depends a bit what gold is doing. Now, silver has catching up potential. Platinum has catching up potential with silver and gold. So this is the overall pattern. We've just made basically a second leg move, right? That was the first leg. Here's the entry signal. That was the first leg. Now we've made a second leg that is breaking slightly higher, but we're still stuck here, right, in this range. So basically we want to move out of this range. So this is a stop run level. It has tested it. But what we were looking for, well, it's a move, right, well above, breaking away from this channel. Otherwise we might drop back and basically test the lows. Now we've got already here a potential S1 pattern on the 240, and it's going, well, we need a test bar. Well, this is actually a test bar, but well, we need to get out of this channel. I don't believe this is going to be successful, but let's see how that pattern plays out. Now this is copper. Copper, we have here on the monthly chart an S2 pattern. This is a test bar, and then it's triggered with this bar breaking these highs. Well, there was an event, tariffs from Trump on copper, I think 50%, that created this spike. But anyway, I mean, price action, the chart tells us, and that has triggered an entry signal. Now we're back here. That could be traded as a as an S2 with a discount. Now it has already triggered, it has come back down here, the stop remains here. Now this would be basically the stop level. Now this looks quite bullish as well. We've got an S1 pattern here. It's all marked basically, right, with the high. Well, that went even higher, but basically here from the great financial crisis, this high, and this is a low from the corona spike low, March 2020. So there's a lot of potential here in copper as well. Let's move on now to energies, asset class of energies. Now crude, it has this big drop, right, to $7.40 per barrel here during the corona crisis, and then it has made a huge move higher. Well, where? Well, into price resistance, right? This is resistance of price. We had mapped that actually as a target, and it went to the target. Well, it's not easy to go through so heavy overhead resistance. So it's and especially after a big rise in price. So this is a refresher, right, of price. It's a consolidation. This big up spike was triggered by the Iran war, right? Israel-Iran, the strikes in Iran, and basically this is an important line now. If price can break above this line, because this was an important event, well, if it can break above the line, was then something important is going on. Now this chart is clustered with stop run levels, and that can bring a measured move, right? And that's a second version of basically this coming out of this consolidation. Now more interesting I think is RB, the RB contract, that's gasoline, because gasoline is nicely trending. It fulfills the trending rules. Here we've got an S1 pattern that gave us an entry signal based on a test bar. It has made its momentum move. Now it's consolidating, and this is our pattern here. Well, I talked about that. That's one of those big moves we expect, right, for the year. It has triggered as well with the Iran war. Let's bring that down with the Iran war, and basically the same thing. Stop is down here. If it breaks this high, well, then something important happened, and we've got these stop run levels, and there's a lot of energy stored in this consolidation. A monthly pattern. Right? If we look at natural gas, natural gas is one of the last symbols we look at that is not yet in a major bull market, or it's in a major bear market, right? And we might see another sell-off. I mean, this is an S1 short. It's going lower, not with a lot of momentum. I would actually prefer to see a final sell-off, a big red bar, and then see a turnaround to develop. But basically, the target, well, we should see new all-time highs with this one too. Let's have a look at another asset class, interest rates. Well, these are US interest rates, notes, and the T-bond. You can trade as well your local interest rates. Now this is the 5-year US 5-year US note. We are basically stuck in a range for quite some time, and it looks like we are seeing another move lower, a second leg lower, because the 200 acts as a magnet, and this would be nice just to satisfy the charts, but we're still stuck in this range. But they all look basically the same. Let's have a look at the famous T-bond. That's a 30-year bond, right? The US T-bond, same thing, same story. We're here at this very important support and resistance line. We are consolidating. This is why we are here stuck in this range on a weekly chart. And we could see a swift move lower. Now, if the interest rate futures goes lower, that means rising yields, right? So some event might happen that brings the yields to rise. Now let's move on. Bitcoin, the Bitcoin chart. We actually prefer to trade Bitcoin in the cash market, not so much like directly on the blockchain, not so much with the future, but the future chart gives us as well an S1 pattern entry signal long since I think Friday. Friday was the signal. Now this is a long signal based on an S1. We've got a nice test bar here, and that looks very bullish. Same for Ethereum, where we've got Bitcoin future, Ethereum future, and we've got two new futures. I'm just showing you a bit later. Now this is the Ethereum future. We have a 240-minute pattern, but no test bar. But it still looks to work out nicely. That chart looks very bullish too, right? It has broken this important line. Let's just put some here, and then this is the all-time high. So let's see whether it can crush through. As you know, I'm very bullish for Ethereum. I believe it will outperform Bitcoin. Now this is a new contract. That's XRP Ripple, a Ripple contract with same thing, right? We've got an S1 daily pattern. Now let's move on to the DX. That's the US dollar index future. We've got an ETF that is quite famous, right? The US dollar index ETF, and this is the future, the DX future. And we talked about that, talking about that in webinars and videos. So the important levels is basically this one here, break above this or break below, especially the break below. I would like to see that happening because that would fuel the commodity market. That would be a very bullish factor if we re-break this line below. So the DX is tradable as well on lower time frames, but currently, well, it's stuck in the range. Now it's stuck below this level as well in the range. So currently it's not that of interest. So I hope that was good and helps you get a better view in the futures markets.